The Percy Jackson show on Disney Plus just teased Season 3 last March, and this is a huge news to the fandom right now because Season 2 isn't even out yet, but we already have clearance to proceed to the third one. It's honestly insane for all of us, and this new season will adopt the third book of PJO, or The Titan's Curse, one of the most beloved books in the Riordanverse fandom today. To prepare for this new season, I made this video to give a recap on The Titan's Curse to refresh everyone on its major plot points that we might get this Season 3. So without further ado, let's get into it. The Titan's Curse is one of my most favorite books in the Riordanverse as a whole. It's been described as the turning point from the relatively light previous books or the Lightning Thief and the Sea of Monsters. The Titan's Curse introduces a whole new adventure with even more beloved characters and heart-wrenching scenes. Like, there's a reason a lot of us have been waiting for this moment, and let's talk about the plot by first getting context from what happened in the Sea of Monsters. So beware of spoilers for the first and second book of PJO moving forward. Anyway, the Sea of Monsters ended with Thalia Grace coming back to life after her tree was healed by the Golden Fleece. Thalia becomes acquainted to Percy Jackson, Annabeth Chase, and Grover Underwood, and the Titan's Curse opens to them in a military academy 6 months after Thalia's return. Percy and the gang are in Westover Hall to pick up 2 demigod siblings who needed to be recruited to Camp Haplet. They are Bianca and Nico D'Angelo, and they play a huge role in this book, which is why we'll inevitably find out who will play them. The vice principal of the place, named Dr. Thorne, is actually a Manticore in disguise who's trying to kidnap Nico and Bianca, so Percy and the gang try to stop them. It leads up to a fight near a cliff as Dr. Thorne tries to take Nico and Bianca, when suddenly, the Hunters of Artemis step in. The Hunters also play a key role in this book. They're a group of maidens who swore loyalty to the goddess of the hunt Artemis, and they live semi-immortally when they hunt. Among them was their lieutenant and a new character named Zoe Nightshade. Zoe plays a huge role in this book, and I'm just so excited to see who will play her in the show. The Hunters manage to save Percy and the rest, but Annabeth ends up falling into the cliff when she tried to attack Dr. Thorne herself. Dr. Thorne managed to kidnap Annabeth, and Percy is devastated. After this, we formally meet Nico D'Angelo. For those of you new to the fandom, Nico D'Angelo is one of the most beloved and talked about people, and he's probably the main reason fans have been begging for a Season 3. Nico plays a pivotal role in not just this book, but also the next books, to the point that he even has his own book coming out this September 23 called The Court of the Dead. So with this much impact in the fandom and the Riordanverse as a whole, there's a lot of high expectations for whoever will play Nico, and I'm so excited to find out who he is. Anyway, going back to the book, the Hunters set up camp, and Percy is absolutely stressed about Annabeth getting kidnapped. Just then, Nico starts talking to Percy about this card game about Greek myths called Mythomagic. Even if they just got attacked, Nico is alive with excitement because it's just like Mythomagic, and he asks all sorts of questions to Percy about being a demigod, and that's Nico's personality throughout the book. He was innocent, naive, and filled with excitement or curiosity about literally anything. Anyway, Percy is called by the goddess of the hunt, Artemis, to talk about the situation, and how there was a powerful creature that was prophesied to destroy Olympus. Artemis decided to hunt the beast herself, and just then, Bianca D'Angelo decided to join the Hunters. It's a pretty bold moment because Bianca had just learned that she was a demigod, and it's not a joke to choose the Hunters over your little brother. Bianca does this to remove the responsibility she had for Nico, and this hurts Nico. After this, they hitch a ride with Artemis' twin brother, the god of the sun, Apollo. Apollo makes Thalia drive the sun chariot to bring them to Camp Haplet, but they end up kind of crashing into the canoe lake. On the bright side, pun intended, they did reach Camp Haplet, and the Hunters meet Chiron. A couple of events happened, but a pretty cool scene we might get as well in the show are Percy's dreams. Percy's dreams, as seen in the first season of PJO, played a huge role in the plot of the season, so I'm betting Rick will want to include scenes like this in both the second and third season moving forward. So the first dream Percy gets is about the demigod son of Hermes named Luke Castellan, who was holding the way of the sky, or the Titan's Curse. So, long story short, in Greek mythology, the Titan Atlas rebelled against the gods during the First Titan War, but the Titans lost. In punishment for the rebellion, Atlas was cursed to hold the weight of the sky. This curse is what Luke is carrying in the dream, and Percy suddenly sees Annabeth nearby. Luke manages to trick Annabeth into getting the Titan's Curse, and I really want to see this play out. In my video of how the Disney Plus show changed Luke Castellan for the better, I've emphasized how different book Luke is from show Luke. book Luke was a bit more manipulative and cunning, while in the show, Luke was more sympathetic, as he genuinely felt bad for betraying the camp. Luke looked more like a softer villain in the show, so I'm kind of curious how the show would handle this scene of Luke tricking Annabeth into getting the Titan's curse. Another dream sequence we may see in the show is Artemis taking this huge burden from Annabeth. So if you remember earlier in this video, I mentioned how Artemis was tracking down a beast that could destroy Olympus, and this beast is called the Ophiuchus. Percy sees this creature in his dream and named it Bessie without actually knowing how powerful this being is. But going back, Artemis was trying to capture Bessie, but she was kidnapped by the Titan Atlas, or the General. Atlas leads this new mission that Kronos wants alongside Luke, and he captured Artemis as bait for the hunters and the rest. Continuing this, we head to a pretty iconic scene in Camp Half-Blood. Percy and Thalia are teammates and capture the flag against the hunters. However, Percy disobeys Thalia's orders to get the flag quickly, but the hunters expected this and won. Thalia gets mad at Percy for it, and they get into a heated argument that could have led to a fight. This is a really iconic scene, and I can't wait for Walker Scobell, or Percy's actor, to say the infamous line of "Bring it on, pinecone face," which is a reference to the fact that Thalia was a pine tree just months ago. But anyway, this confrontation actually leads to a pretty cool scene again through the Oracle of Delphi arriving with a prophecy about Artemis' capture. Given this, a meeting was held to save the goddess and Annabeth, but Percy was not involved, as only the hunters, Thalia, and Grover were invited. Percy gets upset at this because he wants to save Annabeth with them, but he can't. Another character we get introduced to here is Paul Blofis. After Stone and Gabe Agliano in the first book and season, Paul steps in and becomes Sally Jackson's new boyfriend. There's a lot of speculation that Rick might be Paul in the show, but so far there's no confirmation. As far as we can see, Rick doesn't appear in the show itself, except for that one cameo he made in episode 1, so we don't really know if he's interested in playing Paul in the future. Going back to the plot though, we see Percy plan to sneak out of Camp Half-Blood to follow the hunters to rescue Annabeth. However, his plan is witnessed by Nico. And then we get a pretty infamous scene from the Titan's Curse. After learning that Percy was going to join the quest to save Annabeth and Artemis secretly, Nico makes Percy promise to keep Bianca safe. This is a very vital moment in Nico's life, as Nico trusts Percy with this responsibility, and Percy says yes, although unsure if he could keep this promise. This moment might seem really small, but it'll actually affect Percy in the long run later on, so wait for that. To leave camp, Percy joins a recurring character we actually met in the Sea of Monsters, or for the show, it's gonna be the second season, and it's the Black Pegasus, Blackjack. Blackjack was kind of seen in this shot of episode 1, so it's pretty clear that they're planning to use Blackjack in the future, and I'm just so excited. As the son of Poseidon, Percy has the ability to talk to horses, so he kind of vibes with Blackjack until they fly away from camp. Just as they were about to leave, Mr. D stops them. He pulls Percy aside, which ends with Mr. D reluctantly letting him go, as Mr. D is convinced that Percy's probably going to die anyway. After this, we see Percy and Blackjack on the way to the hunters when they see Dr. Thorne along with a group of monsters and Atlas. Percy tries to take down some of the monsters, but there's too many of them, so he decides to warn the hunters. The hunters along with Thalia and Grover are stunned to see Percy, but they can't talk too much about it because an attack happens. A pretty epic fight scene against the Nemean lion happens, and it ends with Percy fighting it pretty well until Zoe shot it with the final killing arrow. Since Percy did most of the work, he was able to get the pelt of the lion, which is a great spoil for war. After this, the group comes across a homeless guy who's actually the god Apollo. Apollo was stressed that his sister Artemis was kidnapped, and he broke godly rules just to talk to Percy. Apollo tells him to find Nereus, the old man at the sea, to get some help for later. The group soon met up with the god of war Ares, and the goddess of love Aphrodite. Here, Percy talks with Aphrodite away from the group, and this is personally one of my most favorite scenes in the book. We already saw Ares in season 1, so we already know that Adam Copeland will play Ares, but we don't really have anybody for Aphrodite yet. Speaking of Aphrodite, it's pretty hard to cast an actress perfect for her, because beauty is very subjective, and Aphrodite morphs into what you find most attractive in a woman. Like, she could literally look like anything because of this, and this knowledge is actually why Percy gets pretty flustered while talking to her, especially when Aphrodite randomly morphed into Annabeth for a bit. Like, this is such a cute Perciveth moment, and it really teases the upcoming romance, so I'm so excited to see this on the big screen. Anyway, the group ended up in the Junkyard of the Gods, where a pretty infamous scene happens. So, the reason this place is called the Junkyard of the Gods is because this is the place where they dump all of their trash, and among them was a prototype automaton of Hephaestus named Talos. Bianca accidentally triggered this robot when she was trying to get a mythomagic figurine for Nico. Talos attacks them, and in the fight that ensues, Bianca manages to destroy the robot, but it cost her life. The robot fell, and Bianca was nowhere to be seen. And then, a pretty bone-chilling line hits the book, as the group realized that a line of the prophecy that the Oracle gave them earlier was fulfilled when Bianca was lost. It had said, "One shall be lost in the land without rain," and around them was a desert. After mourning Bianca's death, the group moves forward to the Hoover Dam, and an iconic scene happens. The infamous dam joke starts when the group talks about the different things in the dam, like the dam snack bar or the dam t-shirt, and amidst the low mood after Bianca's death, they do end up laughing for a bit. After this, things escalate when Percy notices Bessie, and the group gets attacked by skeleton warriors. Percy gets separated from the group and meets the goddess of wisdom and war, or Annabeth's mother, Athena. Athena was disguised as a mortal tour guide, and she gives Percy advice on how to escape the place. We first meet Athena in this book, but based on the news we got for season 2, we're also going to meet her there. But either way, I'm still so excited to see Andrade portray her in both season 2 and 3. And then, Percy ends up bumping into another new character we get in this book, Rachel Elizabeth Dare, a mortal teenager who accidentally gets stabbed by Riptide, but since she's mortal, Riptide literally just passed right through her. Rachel gets suspicious of Percy, but manages to distract the skeletons after him for a bit. This was a hilarious scene, and I don't know who's going to play Rachel in the show, but I just wish whoever she is would be able to play her part well of being so confused yet curious about Percy, cause that's literally Rachel right here. Percy and the gang are trapped in the dam until some divine intervention with the help of Thalia's dad Zeus saves the day. After this, the group decide to take Apollo's advice from earlier and meet Nereus, the old man of the sea. Nereus is not happy with the group, and Percy ends up wrestling him, which is why we get the iconic chapter title of I Wrestle Santa's Evil Twin. From this fight with Nereus, Percy ends up getting the truth about Bessie and how Artemis was hunting it down before. Percy is stunned, but just then, Dr. Thorne comes in and tries to persuade Thalia to kill Bessie for power, but Thalia refuses. In the end, Mr. D ended up saving them, and we soon meet some other new characters through the Chase family or Annabeth's family. We meet her dad Frederick Chase for the first time, who lends him his car, and this is an interesting moment, because from what Annabeth described ever since the first book and season, she had a horrible relationship with her family, so Frederick helping them kind of shifted Percy's perspective. Anyway, we get to the highlight of this book. The group entered the Garden of Hesperides, and this is actually Zoe Nightshade's home. Speaking of Zoe, we get a pretty huge bombshell about her character, as it's revealed that Atlas was her dad this entire time. So, okay, Zoe Nightshade backstory time that also ties well with Riptide's past. Before becoming a hunter, Zoe was a nymph of the garden, along with her sisters, and she used to own Riptide. Riptide was a sword that was passed down to her from her mother, but Zoe ended up betraying her family when she met the famous demigod Hercules. At that time, Hercules needed to complete a quest to get a golden apple from Zoe's garden, but it was guarded by a creature named Ladon. Zoe ended up helping Hercules, and he was successful. However, he left her without even giving her any credit for his victory, and it broke Zoe's heart. When her family learned of what happened, Zoe was exiled, and this fueled her hatred for male demigods, which is why she ended up joining the Hunters of Artemis. Going back to the book, the group sees Artemis holding the weight of the sky and Annabeth held hostage by Luke and Atlas. A fight breaks out and Zoe fought her own dad. It was an intense fight, and alongside this, Percy offered to carry the Titan's curse from Artemis. Artemis refused to give it to him, but she soon realized that she needed to help Zoe. Artemis gave Percy the Titan's curse, and it's a huge moment because it truly showed his strength as a demigod. Like, Percy is just a demigod, and he was able to hold that kind of burden that a goddess and a titan struggled with. That says a lot about his strength and endurance. As this happened, Atlas was able to get the upper hand against his daughter Zoe. Atlas closed in the attack and killed her, which actually fulfilled a line of the prophecy again, that said, "And one shall perish by a parent's hand." This is Zoe, as she died because of her own father or parent. Zoe's death is one of the saddest and most heartbreaking scenes in the Riordanverse, as Artemis consoles her and gives her peace by making Zoe a constellation in the stars. This is because Zoe's last words were, "Stars. I can see the stars again, my lady." Even if it's so heartbreaking to read about, I can only imagine just how much it would feel like to see this on screen, because I bet it'll hit way more. Aside from Zoe's death, we actually get a pretty intense scene as well through Thalia fighting Luke. Thalia was able to kick Luke off a cliff, and it looked like he was dead. I'm not gonna spoil further, but that's Luke's fate in this book. He's thought to be dead, but Poseidon, or Percy's dad, later on in the book tells Percy that Luke might be alive somehow. The group ended up in Mount Olympus to talk about what happened to the gods, and a lot of stuff happened here. They discussed the Great Prophecy and how Thalia and Percy are part of it because they're children of the Big Three who would eventually turn 16 and either destroy or save Olympus. Learning about this, Thalia joined the Hunters of Artemis so that she would never turn 16, and Athena suddenly chimes in to say that they should kill Percy right now so that he won't be 16 too. However, the rest of the gods disagreed, and they end up talking about Bessie instead. Speaking of Bessie, Percy managed to persuade them to just keep it on Mount Olympus instead of killing the creature. A party happens after this, and we get a pretty sweet Perciveth moment here, as Percy and Annabeth dance together. However, it's kind of interrupted because Athena clearly dislikes that her daughter was with a son of Poseidon, but Percy and Annabeth didn't think of it that much, and they just enjoyed the night. The book could have ended there, but it didn't for a reason. The group arrived in Camp Haplid, and they realized that they had to break the news to Nico that Bianca was dead. What made matters worse was when Percy, the person Nico trusted with Bianca, was the one who broke the news to Nico. Nico became livid with Percy when he learned the truth, that the ground cracked and skeletons crawled up to the world of the living. Percy realizes that the mythomagic figurine that Bianca died for was actually a Hades statue. This when everyone realized that Nico and Bianca were children of Hades, and that's why Nico could summon those skeletons. Percy realizes the truth and tries to get to Nico, but it's too late. Nico had ran away in grief and anger. From this, the third season could not only end with the cliffhanger, but also with Grover Underwood declaring that he felt Pan's presence that told him that Pan was awaiting him. And that's how the book ends. Overall, that's The Titan's Curse. It's one of the most beloved books in the Riordanverse, and I'm sure that a lot of fans like me are so excited to get it adopted in the big screen. So how about you? What do you think of Season 3? Let me know in the comments down below.